Well, welcome to another of these biblical treasures that Women Together have been doing over lockdown. And we hope you've been enjoying them all. And today I've got somebody that I think most of you won't know. And it's going to be very interesting to find out all about her. So welcome, Ali. This is Ali Ward, and she's recently just joined the church. So Ali, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'm Ali. I'm married to David, and we have 3 children and a few grandchildren as well. And we have just recently moved to Angmering. We moved in 3 months ago, so we're finding our feet and enjoying finding out about St Margaret's Church as well.
And it's been lovely to see you at church, you and David. Tell us, how did you become a Christian? How long have you been a Christian?
I don't know how long, but I'm not going to give away my age, but I was 14 years old when I first became a Christian, and I was going to a girls' school at that time, and there was a lovely group of girls who I was drawn to. They were different to the other girls. They were friendly and kind, and I enjoyed their company, and I wanted to find out what was different about them. And as I got to know them, I discovered they were Christians, and I went along to their youth club with them and got to know more about what it meant to be a Christian, and I committed my life to God at that time.
Lovely. It's great, isn't it, when we can share stories of our faith journey. So you've been a Christian a long time. Part of this questions that we asked today is what a biblical character has been maybe an encouragement to you, maybe a challenge to you. So who have you chosen to share with us?
So I've chosen one of the apostles, Peter.
Right, and what is it about Peter that has attracted you to him?
Well, it sounds very grand, saying that you identify with one of the apostles, but actually the reason I'm drawn to Peter is because so often he got things wrong. He made mistakes, and he had moments when he was really inspired and moments when he just he appeared to misunderstand what was going on. And I could illustrate if you'd like me to.
That would be lovely.
So I've got a couple of stories that come to mind. And the first one is when the disciples had been with Jesus for the day, and he said to them to get into a boat and to sail off across the lake without him. He remained on the land, and it was late, and a storm blew up, and they were very scared. And then, to make it worse, they thought they saw a ghost coming across the water towards them, and they were terrified at this point. And Jesus called out to them and said, "Don't be afraid, it's me." And Peter said, "Well, if it's you, then call me to come and walk on the water to you." And Jesus did that. And I'm not saying I would have done that. I would have been terrified. But Peter got out of the boat and started walking on the water. And then the wind was blowing and the waves were crashing around him. And he took his eyes off Jesus and started looking at the situation around him and started sinking and shouted out to Jesus, "Save me." And Jesus put his hand out and rescued Peter, and next thing they were in the boat and safe. But that just speaks to me of how often in life, if you keep looking at Jesus, everything seems to be fairly okay, and then life crowds in and problems inevitably come our way, and it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the problems and not to be able to see where Jesus is. And often when you feel you're sinking and you cry out to him to help, that's when he steps in and things change. And yeah, I really identify with Peter in that. And another story, again surprisingly, to do with boats, where after lots had happened and Jesus had been crucified, and Peter, just after Jesus had been arrested, had denied that he even knew him 3 times, and then Jesus was resurrected, and life had carried on a bit for the disciples, I suppose. And on this particular day, they'd gone out fishing again, and they'd fished all night and hadn't caught anything. And as they were coming in early in the morning to the shore, somebody on the shore called out to them, "Have you caught anything?" And they said, "No." And he said, "Why don't you let your nets down on the right-hand side?" And these guys that were fishermen and knew just what they were doing listened to a stranger on the shore. They hadn't recognized him, and put their nets down and hauled in such a huge catch of fish they could barely bring them in. And Peter recognized Jesus was the man on the shore, and impulsively jumped into the water and shouted, "It's the Lord," and ran through the water, or swam, I don't know, and came to the shore, and Jesus was already there and had a barbecue going. And I love breakfast on the beach, my favourite meal. And he didn't need their fish to be added to that, but I expect he put a few more on, and they had breakfast. And then Jesus spoke to Peter and said, "Simon Peter, do you love me?" And he said, "Lord, you know that I love you." And he asked him 3 times, "Do you love me?" And Simon Peter said, "You know that I love you." And Jesus said to him, "Feed my sheep, feed my lambs, take care of my sheep." And it seemed really significant to me that Peter had denied that he even knew Jesus 3 times, and now 3 times he assured Jesus that he loved him, and somehow was reinstated by this event. And that, as Jesus had said way back when he first knew Simon, who he named Peter, the rock, he said, "This is the rock on whom I'll build my church." And I just think it's amazing that God can take somebody with so many fears and worries and flaws, who lets him down and says the wrong thing, and yet Jesus can use this person, and his church was built on somebody as flawed as this. And it just inspires me to think that, in spite of all the times that I say and do the wrong thing and make mistakes and worry about things, that God can take all of those negative things and turn them into something positive, and that he can use me in some way in his church to encourage and help other people. And I just think that's brilliant.
Yes, I think a lot of people would say that Peter's one of their favourite characters for all those the reasons you have, and I know you have a few more that you could have expanded on. But we're trying to keep these short, so we just keep to what Ali has shared with us today, and I'm sure we can all resonate with exactly what you say about Peter, and how we can recognise ourselves in the things that he's done and said, and that the Lord is gracious to us and merciful, and uses us for his kingdom, like he used Peter. So thank you very much, Ali, for joining with me today on my sofa. And as you can see, we're close together, But I hope that in a few days to come, you'll be starting to meet Ali at church, and you will recognize her from these biblical treasures, and do say hello to her so that she gets to know people quickly and gets to know your name. But thank you again, everybody, for joining us, and we'll see you soon.